Part 11F, Lions, Tigers, and Bears, oh my, living from the place of the heart brain. The bride who has made herself ready has known that our spiritual journey is one of doing in order to become. Change will never happen without application. If you wanted to be the next Bruce Lee, would you seek out a martial arts instructor? Or would you attempt training on your own with no assistance whatsoever? How far do you think you would make it to your goal of becoming the next Bruce Lee without instruction from one who has already become? This may seem absurd to use as a point, but by having a teacher, an instructor, it automatically places you in a humble stance from the beginning so that you can become just like the one whom instructs you. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. This is the role of mother in the beginning of her teaching, which is to deal with the innate narcissism we are born with, the beast within. The term His Majesty King Baby originated from Freud's paper, quote, on narcissism, end quote, in 1914, using the myth of Narcissus as a synonym for egomania or fixation with oneself. The story is Narcissus is a young man who, seeing his reflection in a pool of water, is unable to tear himself away and finally dies of self-obsession. His name is derived from the Greek word narke, meaning sleep or numbness. We are all born narcissists in order to survive. Imagine returning to the womb. Here we feel warmth, security, and comfort. All our primary needs are taken care of, and we are the center of our universe. During our infancy, we demand food, attention, care, and expect to get it. Through the natural maturing processes of childhood and adulthood, most of our baby mentality is discarded and replaced by more appropriate life skills. However, some of us advance through the stages of physical growth without shedding the so-called king baby attitude. You can see how this is one path that creates full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. The other occurs in extreme abuse situations. This is why Mother's teaching is of such an importance. Mother's job in her teaching is about discipline and order, completely dealing with and subduing the beast nature by assisting the child to grow up and out of this tendency to have the king baby attitude. By teaching them the way they should go, through love and nurturing, it is therefore easy for children to honor their parents. If this doesn't happen, then chaos and destruction reign for King Baby. A good instructor, teacher, that has your best interest in mind will enlighten you regarding the importance of discipline unless you are of a rebellious nature. Mother and father's teaching have their own way of establishing discipline. If you stray aside from any of the known teachings of mother and father, you will get pierced and/or bit. If others try to come in and bring harm, they will get pierced and bit. So for those who do not have either teaching, you are left alone to the snakes, serpents, and the wolves who will bite you. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my! You can be physically bitten or spiritually. But the point of this, the point in which I'm trying to discuss, pertains to spiritual protection. Dorothy represents Mother. The scarecrow needed a brain, and the Tin Man needed a heart, and the cowardly lion needed courage. Mother supplies all of this through her teaching, so that we can face the beast within, tame and yoke it, so that we can receive the Father's instruction. To whom much is given, much is required. It will never be given to a beast. We need to activate the brain of our heart, which, by the way, does exist and acts independently from the brain in our head. For proof of this, visit the Institute of HeartMath, www.heartmath.org. I will be sharing some slides from HeartMath Institute, but I highly recommend that you visit their site independently. I will be not going into detail, but am wanting to make a point that Mother and Father's teachings are all about the heart. In the new field of neurocardiology, for example, scientists have discovered that the heart possesses its own intrinsic nervous system, a network of nerves so functionally sophisticated as to earn the description of the heart brain. It contains over 40,000 neurons. This little brain gives the heart the ability to independently sense, process information, make decisions, and even to demonstrate a type of learning and memory. In essence, it appears that the heart is truly an intelligent system. Research has also revealed that the heart is a hormonal gland, manufacturing and secreting numerous hormones and neurotransmitters that profoundly affect brain-body function. Among the hormones that the heart produces is oxytocin, which is well known as the love or known as the bonding hormone. You may want to pause this teaching here for a moment to look at its slide in its entirety, as I will not be going over it, and I apologize for it being so busy. The heart is central to the teachings of becoming that are the catalyst for change. When we have incoherence between our heart and our brain, our autonomic nervous system changes to the sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight, releasing hormones that are based on survival. Long-term exposure to these hormones can produce negative effects, which can lead to forms of cancer within the body. When our heart and brain are in coherence, we shift into the parasympathetic mode, which is known as rest and digest. How can we digest the milk or the meat of the word if we have incoherence? In order to digest the milk, the mother's teaching, and the meat, the father's teaching, we need to do something to activate that which is necessary to process this information, the heart brain. It makes it incredibly difficult to focus and learn when one is in an incoherent state. I am going to quote directly from HeartMath. Quote, "Using the power of your heart to balance thoughts and emotions, you can achieve energy, mental clarity, and feel better fast anywhere. Use quick coherence, especially when you begin to feel a draining emotion such as frustration, irritation, anxiety, or anger. Find a feeling of ease and inner harmony that's reflected in a more balanced heart rhythms, facilitating brain function and more access to higher intelligence." Take a look at this image prior to using the quick coherence technique and what happens afterward. This is helpful to practice this, especially when learning new ideas that are foreign to you, to help reduce the frustration and anxiety that comes as a part of the learning curve. Here is how you do quick coherence. In practical application, to shift from incoherence to coherence, it can actually happen in about 3 minutes. First, step 1. Focus your attention in the area of the heart. Place your hands in a meditative state, or simply place your hands over your heart to let the mind know that you are shifting to the heart by means of physical touch. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Suggestion is inhale 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds, or whatever rhythm is comfortable. Step 2. Make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation, gratitude, or care for someone or something in your life. As a suggestion, try to re-experience the feeling you have for someone you love, a pet, a special place, an accomplishment, etc., or focus on a feeling of calm and ease. Do this for 3 minutes and you will shift over to coherence from the heart to the brain, now ready to receive as being teachable and having gratitude for the teachings that will transform you from becoming to being. If you do this several times a day over a 72-hour period, you will literally rewire your heart and brain. This is the place we need to live from. This is the place where the greatest learning can take place, and is exactly why Jesus, Yeshua, Isa said that the kingdom is within. Again, we are establishing the king's domain, the kingdom, within our heart brain. Look at this last slide. Again, I apologize for the busyness. The slide reads, even if positive emotions send a very different signal throughout the body, meditation has been proven more effective to generate coherence. Again, it isn't just the thought of the positive emotion, it is meditating upon that positive emotion, regenerating the feelings of it, and holding that in place for 3 minutes. And also from the slide, when we are generating a coherent heart rhythm, the activity in the 2 branches of the autonomic nervous system, which are the sympathetic and parasympathetic, is synchronized and the body systems operate with increased efficiency and harmony. Now you can see why we were suggested to think and meditate about certain things. Philippians 4:8 says this, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things noble, whatever things just, whatever things pure, whatever things lovely, whatever things of good report, if any virtue, if anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. In the Hebrew language, the brain is always considered the heart. It was already known to them. The word used is leb, the heart. It's also used figuratively very widely for the feelings, the will, and even the intellect. What does leb mean through its constituent letters? The light teacher that will goad and urge you on by teaching the mother and father covenants as the doors that will bring revelation from a deep well that will deliver you. This is so you can spiritually build your house, temple, and family, and receive the mark and the sign of the Father's covenant of that which is His. Mother's teaching activates the brain of the heart by piercing it, which is the letter Vav. Lebo, the heart that has been pierced, now having humility and meekness, fostering a place of teachability in development of full sovereignty. Father's teaching refines the heart fully, activating the heart chakra. This is why, without these teachings, people will blame Satan for their trouble. The adversary's trouble is about not entering into the teachings of mother and father, as these teachings are what first enable you to love God and love people properly, but then learn to love yourself as well as getting rid of the beast nature that is directly linked to the service to self, king baby, the selfish place of the tyrant. Remember that the Hebrew word for fire is ish. The fire of self will consume them to the bitter end. Only one who is selfless has allowed the fire to burn up their beast nature of self so they can no longer be touched by it. If things are not going well in your life, if fire is touching you, then you are doing something that is outside of mother's teaching, which is the first phase of teaching before father. It is your choice. either entering into the place of protection or being left out for the wolves and the vipers in the consuming place of the selfish fire. As long as you blame it on others, staying as a victim, or even blaming it on Satan, then all power will be removed from you, making you powerless to bring resolve. There is a reason why the kingdom is within. It is the king's domain within your heart. Who is king over you? Is your beast nature within, having set itself upon the throne of the body temple, claiming itself to be God? 666. Or have you surrendered to the mother and father, as they are the strong authority over you, else, until you become one, having conquered your beast nature, now sitting upon the throne as a conquered and yoked king? 999. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. They didn't burn, as fire didn't recognize them as fuel. They became the fire. As the book of Jasher also states, Abraham was thrown into the fire as well as his brother. His brother died as he only approached Abraham's faith half-heartedly and with doubt. Have you ever thought why David danced the way he did that caused Saul's daughter to despise him? A conquered king was meant to dance foolishly in front of the people in order to mock him and humiliate him. David was claiming that he was a conquered king, as he had submitted himself to the mother and father teachings. He was showing his humility, his willingness to humble himself before the people he ruled. That is why he was known as the servant king, one having strong authority. He knew that service to others, not service to self, was the true essence of kingship. If you doubt what I say, then you have never really looked into the longest psalm in the Bible, Psalm 119, as it is all about mother and father's teaching. And by the way, that psalm in particular also brings in the Hebrew alphabet, as these two things are intimately tied to one another. The Hebrew alphabet has always been in our scriptures in this psalm. These are the instructions in righteousness and the journey of the Aleph through the Tav. For inculcation's sake, I'm going to say this over and over again. This is really about Mother's teaching, as this is the beginning of our spiritual journey. For some of you, this may irritate you because you can already see it, but please bear with me, as for others may need to hear this again. You enter into her teaching, into the sheepfold as she lays across the entrance to the door. She allows you to leave at any time, meaning you can walk away whenever you want if you find this is not where you want to be. However, for those who enter and want to stay, entering back into the womb spiritually provides a safe place to learn, because you will be propped up and supported in doing so and hedged in. Once you have reached the level of maturity of her teaching, going from the bride to the wife, still staying teachable, you move from the open mem of mother into father's teaching of the final mem, called the mem sophit. This is where you learn to become the wife. It is through this process that you will be born again spiritually into a family where there is accountability, but also safety through the activity of life. Spiritually being born again is the place of the Semek. You never come out of being hedged in, you become it. Kind of like this picture, but only spiritually. The effects of this process outwardly, you either draw people to you, or you repel due to the shift in frequency being generated with the unseen and naked eye. It can be felt. Your vibratory nature then is different and perpetual. It cannot be faked or counterfeited. It simply is or is not as it is generated from the heart level. 1 Kings 3:9 gives us some insight on this regarding Solomon. And it says, "Therefore give to your servant an understanding a hearing heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. Solomon asked for this revelation, which is wisdom, and since he had been raised in the teachings of Mother, he was able to receive it and finally became it, the Father's covenant. He was the only one who carried it in this generation. And since he was the only one, now I know why he didn't have a good ending, but that is for another teaching. One more scripture, Hebrews 5:14. But solid food, the meat, the Father's teaching, belongs to those who are of full age, mature, those who by reason of use and practice have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. We are going to finish up for now, but we'll pick up and finish the Sophit in the next teaching. Shalom, shalom.